When Colony Wars was launched on PlayStation in November 1997, it took the gaming world by storm. Now, 2 years on, the latest chapter in the series is about to be unveiled. Welcome to Colony Wars Red Sun.
Colony Wars Red Sun takes everything that was great about the two previous Colony Wars, adds to it, refines it and enhances it.
In the previous two games you were just a number, in this game you're the hero.
The game will feature over 30 weapons, that's 50% more than Vengeance. These will range from standard lasers to huge weapons capable of mass destruction. We've also included 9 player ships that can be used on both land and space missions.
The original Colony Wars was the brainchild of the Psygnosis Liverpool studio and was concepted and designed by Mike Ellis. In essence, Colony Wars was a futuristic tale of a bitter war between two rival factions battling for control of vital colony worlds. On one side, the mighty colonial navy. On the other, the underdog, the League of Free Worlds. The scene was set for the age-old battle between good and evil. Colony Wars was to be 2 years in the making, but when it was released, it received rapturous critical acclaim. The best sci-fi video game ever made, said the US's Ultra Game Player magazine. Awarded 10 out of 10 by PSOne Online. Colony Wars was a huge success. It had redefined and reinvented the space shoot-'em-up genre. Hot on the heels of this success, and confident in the knowledge that a force to be reckoned with had been established, work began on the sequel, Colony Wars Vengeance. Following in the footsteps of such an illustrious game could be seen as some task, but any such worries were soon dismissed when it received rave responses from the press. In the US, PS Extreme raved, "If you've ever wanted to experience the spaceship dogfighting you've seen in Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars, and countless other science fiction shows, this game is your ticket." Whilst in the UK, official PlayStation magazine declared the game as the best space combat game on the PlayStation, bar none.
With Colony Wars, you can go outside even the PlayStation and compare it against space fighting games on any platform. That it's probably one of the best, or definitely one of the best space fighting games that you can find anywhere in the arcade, on a PC, on any of the consoles. Colony Wars really is the quintessential space shooter.
With 2 parts of the trilogy completed, it was considered time for a new chapter in the Colony Wars saga to begin. Colony Wars Red Sun.
The 5th millennium, where killing had become a way of life. The conflict had raged so long, I guess I'd forgotten how it started. All I knew was this. On one side, the League of Free Worlds. On the other, the colonial navy. The result? Total war.
A sequel to a sequel is a very difficult game to develop. How much similar do you make it? How much different? Ultimately, the only real answer is to research it, find out what the consumers think, get as much feedback as you can from that, spice it up a bit. Obviously, we've got a new team on the product, and they all have their own opinions as to how the game can be improved, what new features can be added. But at the end of the day, the game's done for the game-playing public, and so the objective is to give them something which we think they'll enjoy.
The task of producing the 3rd game in the Colony Wars series moved from Liverpool to the Psygnosis Ltd studio. Though not involved with the previous 2 games, the Ltd studio had demonstrated both its credentials and its ability to take successful games to another level. This was most evident in the recent BAFTA award-winning game Wipeout 3.
We were told we were going to do the 3rd installment of Colony Wars. I thought right away sequel, and that's the first big challenge. How do you make a sequel better than the previous one? But given the history of Colony Wars and the following it has, we thought this would be one fantastic sequel to jump on.
We kicked off the concepting part of the project around about September 1998, which was towards the latter end of Vengeance. And really the first step was to try and ascertain what we wanted to borrow from the previous games and what improvements and enhancements we'd need to put in place. It was important to get some kind of continuity and consistency as well, so we actually involved some of the original team members from the previous Colony Wars games in that brainstorming process. I think you can safely say that it wasn't without any kind of friction, but I think that with any creative process you need that to get the best ideas.
The core Colony Wars team here in the Leeds studio is made up of 6 programmers, 5 artists, 4 designers and myself. That's 16 people in total. Overall, more than 110 people have been involved in the project so far, 70 of those on the orchestral soundtrack alone.
The Sony Psygnosis Ltd studio took the initiative to make this a real feature film, epic type of feel to it. That's what Colony Wars is. That's what it is, a huge immersive gameplay experience. We went to Pinewood Studios, used their recording facility to do the voices. We brought in a casting director, Jeremy Zimmerman, with a lot of experience in feature film and television production, along with Lexa Levy, to find the right talent to match the voices. The whole experience took on that whole element of epicness. Scriptwriter brought in, used the BBC and music recording, and every element came in very much like a feature film to make that final product. We found that what came out of all that was a beautiful, slick-looking game that had the elements of great gameplay and immersive, full of fun storytelling.
In the original Colony Wars game, the player is a rebel fighter on the side of the League of Free Nations, fighting in the middle of a rebellion of the Galania solar system. The 7 planets of Galania have formed the League of Free Worlds in order to escape the oppression of the evil Earth Empire. The game concludes with the League of Free Worlds leaving the solar system in ruins, closing the wormhole behind it, and leaving the Navy scavenging for remains of its once mighty, tyrannical system. Colony Wars Vengeance picks up the story generations later. Kron, the leader of the new Navy fleet, has just recruited enough soldiers to make a full-scale war against the rebelling League. This time around, the player assumes the role of Mertens, an experienced soldier who was never involved with the League, but deeply hates it for what it did to his ancestors. Colony Wars Red Sun, unlike its predecessors, does not directly follow on from the previous game, but is set at the same time as Colony Wars Vengeance, but at the outer reaches of space. This new direction for the series was seen as the perfect opportunity to increase the depth of the Colony Wars storyline and bring in new, unseen characters.
In Red Sun, we've got many distinct races, corporations, etc., interacting with one another, and we wanted them all to be very distinct in terms of styling from one another. So we've drawn the inspiration for each group from a very different source. One group is undersea creatures, and another is computer technology, for example.
From a design perspective, what we really needed was room for manoeuvre. And so what we decided to do was to try and pitch the game as a spin-off rather than as a straight-on sequel. So it's set in exactly the same time period as Vengeance, but being a spin-off gives us the opportunity to introduce new factions, new enemies, new allies, new solar systems, and generally add as many elements as we could without endangering the previous products in the series.